Hi, everybody. It's Ian here from IBI Performance Coaching. Today, I'm going to talk to you about a tool that every one of us has access to, but almost nobody uses effectively. Just one or two little tweaks to how you engage with this tool can make a huge difference in how much progress you're making. So, hope you enjoy. All right. Hi, everyone. So today we're going to be talking mostly about productivity and what people get wrong about productivity. One of the major issues that a lot of people have that I see, people that I work with, people I see online, people I interact with at work, things like this, is that they get lost in productivity systems as their own venture, their own time sink. They spend so much time trying to optimize a productivity system that they're sacrificing, they're cannibalizing the time that they actually spend engaging in meaningful action. And I mean, it's absurd, but really, I think quite common. How often have you thought, I just need to reorganize my schedule or reorganize how I keep my reference files or whatever it is, wherever it is that you keep the stuff that you need to do, whether it's a to-do list or something like that, right? And you spend a ton of time shifting to a different app or reorganizing everything and thinking that this is going to be the magic pill, the secret sauce that gets you to be a productivity machine. I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that people, well, they want to avoid the discomfort, right? It's like almost like playing games instead of going out and, actually living life. Not that I have anything against games, but obviously they can monopolize people's attention in a very problematic way, if not treated carefully or with respect. And really, that's the same thing for these productivity systems. Uh, People want to avoid the discomfort of actually doing the work in a lot of cases. And also, for a lot of people, I think that there's a fear associated with not so much the discomfort that might be there, but also the possibility that things are going to go well. And I've talked about this in previous videos about self-evaluation or self-valuation theory, and the sort of, if you achieve at a higher level, then you expect yourself and others expect you would achieve at a higher level from there on, and it's a lot more pressure. And boy, your brain would rather avoid that in a lot of cases. So how do we escape from this trap of optimizing rather than engaging? Well, one thing that I came across when I was in the busiest time of my life, which, I mean, I can't really, I'm pretty much incredibly busy all the time, but one time that really stands out was when I was writing my dissertation. And at the time, I had a son who was 3 years old, and my wife was pregnant with my daughter. And, she was getting close to the end of her term, and she had some complications with the pregnancy. And so she was in the hospital for about a month, maybe a month and a half. And so what that meant was I was the sole caretaker for my son, the sole person in charge of making sure the house was kept in some state that wasn't complete chaos, making food, doing the laundry, all of that kind of stuff, visiting my wife in the hospital daily. We're talking about 1 2 hour trips each time so that my son could continue to see her and so that she didn't feel cut off and felt supported. I was working, teaching classes, and then I was working on my dissertation. That's a lot for anybody, I think, to handle. And the system that I fell upon that really worked for me was so stupidly simple. It was basically that I would set a goal either for a day, depending on what day of the week it was, or for the week, a time goal that I was going to try to hit. And then anytime I would sit down on the computer in front of the document that was my dissertation, I would start a stopwatch. and just on my phone, I'd start a stopwatch. I'd press start on it, and it would just count up as stopwatches are wont to do. And I would keep the same stopwatch for if it was a day goal, time goal, then that's what I would focus on. So I reset it at the end of the day, or if it was a weekly goal, I would keep the same stopwatch going for the week. And it was like stupidly effective. So here is what I encourage you all to do. First, and this is why the system worked, I was focused on a single highest return task. This is the thing that I needed to get done in order for everything else to go well. It was the linchpin, it was the thing that had the deadline, all of that kind of stuff. So, one task, highest return task. Okay. Don't do this kind of approach with, I have a to do list of 17 tiny things that involve sending an email or going back and forth. This is single task focused work. Okay, now if that single task involves a lot of stuff, like a dissertation involves research and it involves translation in my case and all sorts of other things, right? It wasn't just pure writing, then that's fine as long as it's still associated strongly with that single task. Okay, so highest return task, identify it, and then when you sit down as soon as you sit down to start working on it, you start your stopwatch. Now, this is another reason this is very effective is that it really encourages you to avoid task switching. People call it multitasking, but really what it is task switching, right? And the time, the energy, the focus that you waste going from one thing to another for most people is astounding. But when you have that number going up, there's a bit of an implicit promise that you have made with yourself that every second that it counts up is a second that you spent on the task. So if you're going to switch tasks, you need to stop the timer, switch tasks, do that thing, and then when you come back, you can start the timer again. Now, this is going to require a little bit of honesty with yourself. If you keep getting distracted and you allow that to count as your time, well, then you're kind of lying to yourself. So there is a little bit of honesty required here, but I think that's a low hurdle for most people. I would hope so. Okay, so you might be asking, well, why not just use a timer? Everybody uses timers. There are things like the Pomodoro method, all sorts of ways that you can, I'm going to work for 30 minutes, then I'm going to take a break for 5 minutes, and so it's really a timer-based thing. In my opinion, using a stopwatch is far superior than using a timer for a number of reasons. One, when you're using a timer, okay, the difference is it's counting down. And so the psychological state that you're in is one of sort of running to the finish line. And if you've ever, you know, done something like track or field or had someone coach you in how to do some sort of race, they will always tell you to run through the finish line, not to the finish line. I mean, it carries through to almost every sport. If it's something like boxing, you don't punch the target, you punch through the target if you really want power. And there's a lot to this. When you're looking at the timer going down and 0 is the finish line, you will probably notice in almost any case, if you give this a try, please feel free to experiment with it, that the last few minutes is like petering off and your attention is sort of fraying a little bit. And it's not that you're running out of attention, it's that you know the time is almost up. And so you're switching into non-focused mode. Subconsciously it happens, okay? Another one is there's a panicky feeling that can be associated with this sort of timer countdown deal. If you spend whatever it is 30 minutes on the timer working on something and you hit some sort of like a writer's block, or maybe you don't know how to do something so you have to look up how to do it and that takes a bunch of time and you don't end up getting much done. Well, one of the worst feelings in the world is like sitting down for 30 minutes saying I'm going to give myself 30 minutes and then the timer hits 0 and it's like I literally produced nothing of meaning during that 30 minutes. It feels like a wasted time. And so this either, you feel shitty about it or you feel panicky about it before the timer runs out. And so the work you produce, you're not in the right state of mind anyway for it to be high quality. The flip side of this would be if you actually do get really focused on the thing that you're doing and you really dial in on it and you get yourself into a flow state, for example, and then the timer goes off. I mean, what a waste. What a waste. Flow states are few and far between for most of us. And to have the timer go off and interrupt it, I mean, it's like your alarm going off and interrupting an amazing dream that you're having. It's like, oh, come on, really? Like, you couldn't have just given me a little bit more time to see where this goes? So, timers are not, they don't, um, you don't have any say over them as when you set them, right? Once you set them, it now becomes sort of an arbitrary time limit that is insensitive to your psychological state and how things are going. Okay, finally, there's like a sort of losing something or a scarcity feeling. It just doesn't feel as good to watch the grains of sand fall through an hourglass as it does to see a pile of things build up owing to the work and the focus that you've put in. Every second that the timer ticks up is a win. It's a small win, but small wins repeated consistently develop very, very strong, resilient habits. Okay. So, one thing that you can do with this timer approach, or this stopwatch approach, I'm sorry, is also you get the ability to do extra credit. So if I say I'm going to do an hour of work, I start the stopwatch and I get to an hour, but I'm like dialed in and things are going well. Every minute after that 1 hour mark feels like, wow, I like really went the extra mile. I got the extra credit on this assignment. And it's all a good feeling, and it all really reinforces the kind of identity that you want to get stuff done. So that's a great feeling of accomplishment. Like, look, at the end of the week, look how many hours of focused work I accumulated this week. Awesome. And you can note that down somewhere and reward yourself and that kind of stuff. Okay. And then finally, it's a great way to actually confirm whether you were able to get into like a flow state. And if that's not something, if you're involved in creative work, mentally demanding work, this is something that should be somewhere in your mind as desirable and something that can be manufactured given the right circumstances. If I set a timer, and one thing I would recommend, and I keep saying timer, if I set a stopwatch and I flip my phone over, which is what I would recommend for you, at least in the beginning, because a phone that's facing up, maybe messages are showing up, maybe you're distracted by it. Flip it upside down and just know that it's counting up for you, okay? But one thing that you can do is confirm whether or not you hit a flow state. How do you do that? Well, get into your work. And then at some point, once some time has elapsed, like make a guess how much time has elapsed. Check the stopwatch, set it right that time. And if your guess was significantly less than the time that has elapsed, according to the stopwatch, then the chances are that you got that time dilation that is a characteristic feature of a flow state. And it's great to recognize when you're able to achieve these flow states. Because if you don't recognize them, if you don't have awareness of, oh, wow, I got into a flow state there, it makes it harder to reproduce. The more aware you become of your flow states, what situations and contextual factors have collaborated to create that flow state, the more reproducible they become. So it's almost like a measured, managed sort of relationship there. Okay, so there's a lot of reasons why you should be using a stopwatch for productivity. Now I'm going to give you a little bit of bonus here, which is for workouts, I would recommend experimenting with a flip of this. Now, for a lot of people, they would say like, well, I need to do this many hours of this much time, this much workout. Okay, maybe they use a stopwatch that counts up for their workouts. Maybe they don't, I don't know. But I would recommend actually using a timer for your workouts, for your exercise. Doing this, setting a timer that is like just a bit below the time I estimate I'm going to need for my workout. So like, if I think this workout will probably take me 20 minutes, maybe I set a timer for like 18 minutes or 17 minutes or something like that, has given me some of the best workouts of my life. And a lot of that is it drives up that intensity. It doesn't allow you to take extra rest. It keeps you really laser focused on the task in front of you. There's no checking your phone, wasting time, zoning out. You are focused. You are there to do battle. You are there to exhaust yourself in the time that you have. And that time is ticking away. Every second counts. And it gives you a lot of clarity. You don't have time, like for a lot of my workouts, they're improvisational. Like I'll go from, okay, maybe the first workout, I know what, exercise, I know exactly what I'm going to focus on. I'm going to do this for this many sets of this much weight. But after that, there's an improvisational element to it. And when I know that that time is ticking down, I'm much clearer in my thinking. It's like I need to do this, I need to do that. I'm not going to waste time moving the weights around and re-racking and do all this in a home gym, of course, shifting weight plates and stuff like this unnecessarily. I'm not going to take time to clean things up during the workout. I'm going to smash the workout as hard and intensely as possible, and then I'll clean up and deal with the fallout afterwards. Okay, so I would recommend giving that a little bit of a try. See how it goes. Let me know in the comments. Okay, that's all I got. Thank you so much for your attention. I hope that you found this useful. If you have any questions or comments, drop them down below. Thank you so much to everybody who supports the channel. You can check out the workout programs in the description. They're designed to be extraordinarily efficient for people who have no space and very little time and very little equipment. They will work for anybody, I guarantee. Well, maybe not anyone, and I don't want to guarantee anything, but if you buy it and you find you can't use it, just let me know. So money back, let's say. Yeah, so there's also a Facebook group, and really I'm here to help you have the best possible life, not narrowly focused on any one thing, because life isn't a narrowly focused endeavor. But I'm here to help you with your performance, holistically speaking, let's say. So that's Ian signing off and reminding you that elite performance is only ever one choice away.